네, 오늘 스튜디오를 찾아주셨습니다. 글렌도라 경찰국의 오피서 앤드류 황 그리고 어터니 니콜 카스트로노보 변호사 함께 자리하셨습니다. 어서 오세요. 반갑습니다.
Hi guys. Hi. Thanks so much for inviting
Say
us.
hello to our audience.
Say hi.
Oh, you speak Korean?
Oh, I have a couple. My great grandmother was Korean. So
Oh,
I have
really?
A
little?
3 things that I can say.
Oh, I see.
So that
Good for
was
you.
예, 제가 잠깐 그 어떤 사건인지 잠깐만 소개를 드릴게요. 뭐 아시는 분들은 또 아시겠지만 또 모르시는 분들도 계실 수 있기 때문에
그렇습니다.
글렌도라 경찰국 소속의 그 한 경찰관이 그러니까 여기 앉아 계시는 이제 앤드류 황 경찰관이죠.
네.
앤드류 황 경찰관이 자신의 이제 부서 내부에서 인종적 괴롭힘, 체포할당량 압력 그리고 보복 등을 당했다고 이제 주장하면서
네.
목소리를 내고 있는 네, 그런 상황입니다. 그 심지어 이제 글렌도라 경찰국을 상대로 해서 앤드류 황 경찰관이 소송까지 지금
그렇죠.
제기를 했고요.
네.
그 2023년에
네.
글렌도라 경찰국에 합류했으니까 한 2년 정도 저기 계신 건데 자신의 경험이
네.
기대했던 것과는 거리가 멀었다 이렇게 지금 얘기하고 계신데 어떤 경험을 했는지
네.
그리고 어떤 문제가 있는지를 이 시간에 우리가 상세히 알아보도록 하겠습니다.
제가 잠깐 질문 하나만 여쭤보고 싶은 게 있는데 I was kind of curious if you had started your career as a police in law enforcement at Glendora or if it was a lateral way in, so if you started out somewhere else before as well.
Yeah, so I did start out originally at like a different police department, and then I was hired onto Glendora PD.
그럼 토탈리 경찰로서는 어느 정도 근무하신 거예요?
Probably around like 3 years.
3 years, okay. 그리고 어찌됐건 이 케이스가 물론 앤드류 황 경찰관 개인의 케이스라고 할 수도 있지만 이 우리가 이곳 LA, 캘리포니아에 살고 있는 또 우리 많은 한인들 입장에서는 이 굉장히 다른 주에 비하면 굉장히 진보적이고 소수계들이 그래도 활발하게 활동하는 주라고 생각하고 있음에도 불구하고 여전히 이 같은 그 어떤 인종적인 어떤 차별이라든가 부당한 대우라든가 이런 게 만연되고 있다. 그래서 이런 점은 우리가 살펴봐야 될 것이고 또 이렇게 그 외로운 싸움을 하고 있는 우리 또 한인 경찰관에게 힘을 주기 위해서 우리가 오늘 이제 이 같은 시간을 마련했다고
그렇습니다.
말씀드리겠습니다.
감사합니다.
그 이슈가 된 그 사건부터 저희가 좀 이야기를
그렇죠.
나눠보고 싶은데요.
나눠봐야죠. 네.
그 스시 마르티니 사건이라고 저희가 이제 불러야 될 것 같아요. 그 저녁을 먹는 장소가 이제 스시집이었는데, I just want to ask you before the incident at Sushi Martini, what was the culture like in the department?
I would say the culture was it was friendly. I mean, for the most part, I would say amongst my officers, I would say that the culture was good. And I think further, I would like to highlight that just because of a couple supervisors' actions and the administration's actions, it doesn't reflect the total officers at the department. They're good police officers at Glendora PD.
Was the harassment isolated to one person or normalized by others?
I would say it was normalized by others.
Anyone step in or push back when racist comments were made?
Nope.
No.
No, none of your peers.
Yeah.
It came mostly from your supervisors or people that are above your rank, and none of the peers were able to actually say anything about it. In fact, did that increase participation in some of these comments by your peers?
I'd say that once again, no one did speak up, but to give a little bit of a context, there was a fear of retaliation from officer levels, right? Like my people I went to calls with, people who I risked my life with on a regular basis, there was fear for retaliation. And look what happened to me, right?
I want to shoot this question towards your attorney. I know that you've come out with this case against Glendora Police Department, and that there has been certain articles published, and some news agencies are covering it. But do you see as much coverage as in the point that this is regarding an Asian American per se to another race, perhaps, when it comes to the news coverage regarding this matter?
I think that race definitely matters in media coverage. A good example of this, aside from Andy's case, is in 2021, I tried a manslaughter case. It was the first time a police officer had been charged in 20 years in Los Angeles for an on-duty shooting, and the police officer who was charged was Chinese. And the person he had shot was Latino. And from a downtown jury, you know, in 2021, not the greatest year after George Floyd, we got a not guilty in 6 hours. And you've never heard about that case, right?
No.
No.
Any officer being tried as far as a manslaughter is a big news story.
Yes.
And I thought that was very interesting that, we had I think we were on the cover of the LA Times for the not guilty, but then the story went completely quiet. And noticed that when the Chinese cop was acquitted, the city didn't burn either. And I did feel in some ways, at that time, there was a lot of pressure on LADA to file on police officers. And it struck me as interesting that they chose to file on the Asian cop. The city's not going to burn in the way that if it was a white cop who was in the shooting, that it could have these other ramifications. And I have also seen in my experience as a police attorney, I have had a disproportionate amount of Asian clients charged. I had another Asian client on a use of force case. And Asians are a very small percentage of the police law enforcement across the nation. And so to have this disproportionate number charged, and I think, sometimes, we talked about this before we got on the air, I was a history major, but my incomplete double major, I was 2 classes away, was Asian American Studies, but I just had to get out of college and start making money at that point. But Asians are an easy target in some ways because there's a stereotype, and I'm mixed. I come from a mixed family, that Asians are submissive. There's a concept called the model minority, that we're the model minority. We do right. We have achieved. We are socioeconomically fine. And so it's we're seen as this good minority. And because of that, there's this expectation that we won't speak up. At the same point, I think that Asian Americans sometimes become an easy target because Asians are also treated as the other. Right? Asians look different than everybody else. And so it's easy to target someone who looks different than you because maybe you don't have the same connection to them because they look different than you.
Andrew, do you believe Asian officers were viewed differently inside the department? What's your thoughts?
I think in totality, if you look at the treatment that I've received, it's given the context during the time before I was placed on leave, I was the only Asian officer at the police department. We are a department where the population of Glendora is approximately 11% Asian.
Yes.
But me being the only Asian officer, the treatment was night and day. And within our case, there's plenty of proof to substantiate that.
I see.
Especially for the things that they're allegedly accusing me of. The treatment is completely different, and I think it reflects.
Can we get to the aspect of quotas? For a long time, the department has always denied that there was a quota on traffic tickets or whatnot.
Yeah.
Of course, a quota gives pressure to police officers to, arrest or to make tickets or cite violations.
지금 그러니까 그 앤드류 황 오피서가 이제 주장하는 내용 중에 하나가 커터가 있어가지고 커터라는 거는 경찰관 한 명당 뭐 한 달에 몇 명씩 체포해야 된다. 그런 할당량이 있다. 근데 그것 때문에 굉장히 압박을 받고 있고 그것 때문에 이제 힘들다. 근데 그런 게 이제 너무 할당이 강조되면 그 체포하지 않을 수도 있는 사람을 체포할 수 있고 뭐 이제 이런 가능성 때문에 문제가 되는 것 같은데 거기에 대해서 어떻게 생각하시는지?
Can you describe the messages pushing for 1,700 arrests?
1,700명?
네. 1,700명을 arrest하라고 메시지를 받았다는
Per officer, per month, or is that per year, or
how frequently?
Yeah, so the message that was given in our union chat. So we have a thing called POA. So it stands for the Police Officer Association. So our association president, he sent out a message, and one of the functions that the association president does, he meets with the chief and the captains, which is the administration of the police department, and basically he takes notes during that meeting. And during that meeting, the chief and the captains convey what they desire from their officers, and the union president relays that to the officers. This is what happened in the meeting. This is what we talked about. And I found it particularly troubling, given that I'm only an officer of approximately 3 to 4 years. I have a lot to learn, and I'm the first one to say that I'm still learning on the job. And there's a lot of things that I'm growing in, but knowing that I'm still newer, I feel like I have a understanding of the public's perception as well too. But also there's specific laws within just America where you can't push a quota onto police officers. And when we got a message that the message basically said that before, when we had staffing at a certain level that we are now, the amount of arrests that they expected, or amount of arrests that were there, was around 1,700, and the message said that we need to get it back up to that number. And that was very troubling because it was a number that was given, but also further, one of the things that was expressed was that they kind of covered it saying productivity. Oh, we need you to be productive. And I understand that you want your officers to go out there to do their jobs.
Performance.
Exactly. But to that point of performance, they also said that if we don't participate in this productivity, some of the consequences that might take place is a subpar work evaluation, which is a bad work eval, right? And that'll be in your record. And then if you want special assignments and you're signing up for them, you're not going to get those.
Okay.
But particularly troubling, one of the things that was listed at the end of the message is that the administration takes productivity, which is reference to the quasi de facto quota. They're saying that if you don't participate, the administration takes productivity very seriously, and they will do they will take whatever steps that they feel is necessary to correct this, which is an open threat. That's how I interpreted it.
근데 하나 물어볼게요. How many people live in Glendora? I mean,
I believe it's around 130,000.
yeah, I searched Google and it said like 52,558 people
52,000?
live. So
That's it?
52,000명밖에 안 돼요.
그래요?
근데 52,000명 정도밖에 안 산다는데.
그렇게 많은 어레스트를 어떻게
근데
해요?
한 명에게 지금 앤드류 황 오피서 한 명에게 1,700명을 지금 할당했다는 거잖아요.
Per person or everyone department?
The whole department.
Whole
whole
department.
department.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Even though I mean whole
그렇죠.
department, I mean.
네. 이 숫자는 who set those expectations, by the way?
Well, I can't
You can't
particularly
say.
say, but the way I interpreted it, and the reason why I expressed concerns was the fact that the POA president, which is our union president, met with the chief, met with the captains, and that was the message that was conveyed.
So, what impact does this have on public trust? You're laughing.
Yeah, no, I mean, I laugh because I don't take it lightly, but I take it. It's tremendously detrimental.
I agree.
mean, especially on the fact that it's such a hot topic that you see in the news, quotas. There's this underlying perception by the community that police departments have quotas, and I'm not going to speak for any other police department.
Right.
This is just my experience here at Glendora. But when I saw a number and that it was being expressed, but also it is being threatened by subpar work evaluations and not getting special assignments, and an open kind of, they will do whatever they feel is necessary. That was incredibly troubling because, especially as law enforcement, we operate from a place of public trust. And there's a term that we use all the time, it's called community policing, and it's a partnership that we participate with the community in order to enforce the law. Because if the public doesn't trust us, why would they call 911?
Right.
Especially in the time of their need.
Yeah.
So we operate from a place of public trust all the time. That's why integrity within the department, within any position in law enforcement is such a high standard because of the fact that the public has to trust us. And every time an officer is sworn into office, we take an oath to defend the Constitution. And part of the Constitution refers to the Fourth Amendment right, which states any citizens right will be exempt from any like unlawful search and seizures. And it's troubling, but public trust is incredible.
And there's that fine line where an officer might be tempted to cross if there was a quota.
Yes, absolutely, and that's something that's addressed in my Fox 11 interview as well. My interpretation, like I said, I'm just a newer police officer, but I interpreted the reason why quotas were illegal was because it opens the door for possible corruption. Imagine you're an officer, you're ending a work deployment period, and the supervisors are looking at stats and using that as your performance.
Yeah. You have some.
Yes, ma'am.
I would like to kind of piggyback off that as far as public trust. I think this issue that Andy has raised of this anti-Asian discrimination department, that erodes the public trust too. You have a Asian American community there that's really reflective of basically the total number of Asians is usually somewhere around 11 to 14%, depending on the census for the United States. And there is an influx of Koreans actually in Glendora buying up properties right now. And so I think that really that this erodes the public trust, because if they're willing to treat their own police officer like this, if you're one of the people that's getting pulled over, especially for a quota, you know, how are you expected to be treated? You know, there was a lot of making fun of Koreans in particular by this department. One of the things that they were mocking were Korean sandwich shop owners, saying cheesy, no cheesy. And,
Sorry.
and this was super upsetting to my
It's just
client.
so like cliche. I've heard it so many times. That's why it makes me laugh. But I'm just so tired of it, you know?
But his aunt and uncle own a Korean
Yeah.
sandwich shop.
Yeah.
And what upset me was when I found out that there is a Korean sandwich shop in Glendora. And the police of Glendora frequent that shop, and the owners will give them like a free bag
Free
of chips
sandwich.
and a
Drink.
soda
Yeah.
because they're law enforcement, and then they're going behind their backs and making fun of the way they speak.
그러니까 마킹하고 그렇게 조롱하고.
험담하고 조롱하고 이런 식의 모습을 보인다는 거죠.
From what I'm hearing, it really sounds like to me when it's like a situation where if it happens on the bottom, the tops are supposed to prevent it and do something about it, but it's happening at the top and bleeding to the bottom, which is just ridiculous. And I think you have every right to bring this out and to bring this out into the open and you know, put out a case over it.
Yeah.
One of the things is that retaliation that I think we want to talk about. This was just, you just wanted to stop. So you're saying, hey, you know what? I don't want this to continue. I see it becoming a problem. So you brought it up. Was that the case?
Yeah. So, look, I'm Korean American. I was raised very Korean, but I was raised very American as well too. And I think just like my attorney was explaining, the stereotype is that, especially, I think we live up to it to a certain point. We work hard. Korean Americans, we work hard. Our parents immigrated from Korea, right? My parents immigrated from Korea to give me a better opportunity. They came from Korea and they kept their heads down and they worked hard. My dad graduated from Yonsede, and he came to America and he started all over. So he was working in like the markets, unloading trucks, taking part-time classes at Pasadena CC, and then eventually got his master's at Cal State LA. So we started all over to give me the opportunities to do these things. But all in all, to just say we work hard. So I think a lot of that spirit was really taught to me, and I saw that within my parents. So all I wanted to do was work hard. I mean, that's my performance records, my evaluations will all reflect that. They'll say that I was a hard worker, I'm an initiator, I'm a forward thinker, I'm patient, I handle stress very well. But the thing that I couldn't get over was just some of these things that were going on. So I confided actually in my POA president. My POA president, he was also my former training officer, but we had a particularly good relationship before because he saw that I worked hard, that I wanted to learn, and that moreover, that even after my training was done, it's not like I got lazy. I kept on going. I kept on wanting to perform and ultimately to serve the community. And because I do know I'm the only Asian at the department, but more than that, I'm Korean American. I want my work performance and the things that I put forward to reflect the type of person that I am, but because I reflect my community. So I talked to my POA president, and I wanted to confide in him because I didn't know what to do. I've never filed a complaint of this nature before. I didn't even know the processes of what I had to do. So I confided in him and I told him, I don't know what to do. This is going on. Can you help? And ultimately what came out later on was that the very supervisor that I complained about to him, he confessed to me later on when after a certain amount of time that he told that supervisor that I complained about him. So he went behind my back, and I told him, please keep my name out of it. Please keep my name out of it. I don't want to make waves, but I don't know what to do. And as soon as, and he betrayed that trust, and he went around and told that supervisor.
Well, and if I can just interject, there's legal significance to that. So because Andy's in a union, that POA, as they call it, Police Officers Association, is a union. A union member, by law, has a privilege with a union leader, like a union representative, the union president. And so what Andy said, he said in privilege. It would be no different than if he said it to me as his attorney, and then I went and told someone. And so this is a very big deal that union members trust their union leaders to have their back. And Andy tells him something in private. He didn't even start by making a complaint in a ruckus. He just told this guy, the union president, and the union president turns around and tells the very person that Andy was complaining about to the union president. And that sergeant that Andy was complaining about then turned around and started digging through anything Andy ever did and started this whole ball of wax to get him fired.
네, next question is why were multiple internal affairs investigations suddenly opened? Why?
In retaliation, of course.
세 가지가 지금 세 개가 했다고 그러는데.
I can speak to this, and I'll try to make sure to make
That's fine. Anytime you jump in.
No problem.
Yeah.
So, there's some basic tenets in administrative law, which is what public employees, their discipline process, it falls under administrative law. And there is a principle called the 7 tests of just cause. And you have to meet all those 7 tests in order to find that someone is rightfully terminated or disciplined. And one of those principles is that investigations must be done fairly and that they can't be headhunting.
Just for context, 3 internal affairs investigations in 3 years of service you'd have to be a really bad cop to have that kind of stuff, right?
Not necessarily.
Oh, really?
So I've been doing this for a long time.
Okay.
I'm going on 9 years of doing this.
Okay.
So, that is not uncommon depending on where you are. For example, if you are in a very rough area, you may get a lot of citizen complaints because there's ill will towards the police.
I see.
You may get in more uses of force. You may get in more pursuits.
I see.
It would be like nothing abnormal that the lieutenant or any of his supervisors would be doing to open these internal affairs accounts. So it wouldn't look
Actually,
weird.
this is very abnormal.
Abnormal because even though,
So it's abnormal in the sense that what they did was once the sergeant found out about this issue, he went back through things and did what's called a service audit. And for a supervisor to do a service audit on a police officer, they're supposed to do it during what's called their deployment period. They kind of break up the year in portions of where our schedule is. And he actually went back into previous deployment periods to try to dig stuff up that was really weak.
Were the investigators connected to the supervisors you accused?
So notably, if you look on the Fox 11 interview,
I saw it.
One of the things that they highlighted the most was, and it was particularly troubling to me, was during a end of deployment dinner, we got together as a shift. So it was in the public, but we gathered as workers, and amongst all my other coworkers that I worked with during the time, the lieutenant actually told me to go back in the kitchen and cook because
You're Asian.
I'm Asian, and that's why I even highlighted even in the interview. I'm Korean, I'm not Japanese. I'm very proud to be Korean.
Yes.
But even further than that, they lumped us up as other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They see us as Asian. I'm Korean. I am Asian, but I'm Korean. But that same the same lieutenant that said that, that told me to go back in the kitchen and cook, because I'm Asian, right? He was the one that investigated me. He was the one that was in charge of my investigation.
That's not.
그러니까
지금
100%네요.
I think he's racist. I mean, isn't that racist?
But this is a perfect example of Asians being an easy target for racism, because imagine if I was at the dinner and the lieutenant told me to go in the kitchen because I'm a woman. Imagine the backlash that would happen right then. but it's just like, oh, you know, Asians will just take it. They're so nice. They're so passive. We can make
They're
fun
polite.
of it. Like he chose someone he thought he could get away with making fun of.
사실 another thing is that, you know, a lot of folks in America, they don't understand the complicated East Asian history, you know? We don't like being called Japanese or Chinese, you know? That could be actually an insult, right?
Yep,
But they just mash us into one
Right.
and then put us together in one category,
그렇죠.
which we don't like.
No, we don't. Good. I have a question for Nicole.
네.
What protections should he have received that he did not receive?
Well, he should that union president never should have broke his confidence.
Yeah.
You know, this should have been handled differently. He could have guided him to human resources where there would be confidentiality in his complaint. You know, obviously until the wrongdoer was interviewed or some sort of discipline was issued. But he definitely should not have been able to be retaliated against. And to me, you know, I think in any case I have, I always make a timeline. And when I wrote out the timeline of this case, it was very clear. You know, what happened was this came to light that Andy was displeased with the way he was being treated. The investigations come out, and then we had a it's basically a due process hearing. It's called a Skelly hearing for Andy, and the city was pushing it to go forward even though they had bad evidence. And one of the piece of bad evidence they had was at one of the stops that was at issue. The officer who was the handling officer and the person he was speaking to, the suspect, were speaking in Spanish. And the transcripts that they gave me were incorrect.
Oh, wait, that's...
Wow.
Yeah.
How bad is that in a case? That's really bad, isn't it?
It's really bad because the sources of the discipline came from the Spanish translation being bad. And for 2 months, I asked the city, you know, I understood it as incorrect, and I asked them, you need to get new Spanish translations because it's not his obligation to pay for that. And, you know, I'm not going forward with this hearing without correct evidence. The other thing that was interesting was in the English interviews, their internal affairs interviews, the transcripts were incorrect of what they said.
Wow.
At what point they asked Andy if he had written a sort of report, and he said no on the audio. The transcript, they had him say yes, and then now they're calling him a liar.
Wow.
이게 완전히 답정 너예요.
답정, 그렇습니다.
답은 정해져
I mean,
있는
you didn't
거예요.
even want any kind of disciplinary action. You didn't want any kind of an apology. You just wanted it to stop, and this just escalated, snowballed to this.
Right.
I think it's fair to say. Yeah.
That's amazing.
네.
That is amazing.
Yeah, let's go to the next question. Glendora is 11% Asian. How does discrimination inside the department affect the public? I mean, it's a similar question, but
I think historically, Asian Americans, we have a reluctancy to call the police, especially within culture, within all Asian cultures. It's frowned upon to just call the police or call somebody. It's like shame. There's a lot of things that can come with it. So there's already a reluctancy to do that. And during my time at Glendora, one thing I really enjoyed is I got to know some of the business owners within the city of Glendora. Just like my attorney and I talked about, there's a Korean sandwich shop owner, which like I was really happy to meet with them, and I spoke with them in Korean, my very broken and very limited Korean, but I introduced myself, said, if you ever need any help, if you ever need anything, I hope that you know that I will do my best to make you feel understood, especially in Korean if that's more comfortable for you. But also there was another pho shop that just opened up in Glendora. He's not Korean, but he's Asian, but he sees somebody that looks like me. And that's the whole point of community policing and public trust that all these departments try to push for. It's like a police department that reflects and looks like the public.
글렌도라가 참 문제가 많이 있네요.
그래요.
에이시안들의 파퓰레이션 숫자에 비하면 상당히 좀.
이게 그 정말 경찰 제가 그 어떠한 피해를 입었었을 때 경찰을 부르잖아요. 근데 그때 그 한인 캅이 왔어요. 얼마나 마음이 편한지. 그리고 우리가 지나갈 때마다 한번 보겠습니다. 이렇게 따뜻한 말 한마디 해주는 게 얼마나 좋은데. 근데 이런 일을 하기 위해서 하는데 이런 차별을 받고 그래가지고 그거에 대해서 참 그 유감이 많고 정말 그 이 케이스를 강하게 그 밀어내가지고 좋은 그 결과가 나오길 바랍니다. Also, thank you for your service, man.
Yeah, thank you so
Really.
much.
Thank you for your support.
Can I just interject something really quick?
Yes.
I think in particular, having the representation of Korean police officers in Los Angeles, of all places. You know, I'm old enough to remember the riots and how the Korean community was just kind of left to fend for themselves, you know, the birth of the roof Korean. And that's still burned in people's minds. I mean, that even happened again when the riots happened in 2020. There was this kind of abandonment of the Korean community again. And so I think that, you know, when there can be this distrust of the police, and probably rightfully so in some ways, having a Korean officer, that can do some healing, you know, that can make people feel different. Or if they are Korean and they have a problem and maybe they don't speak English, having someone who responds who's Korean, who speaks their language in a stressful time, a traumatic time is huge.
What should Korean American residents know about this?
Well, what's the message you want to send out to our Korean American residents?
To our Korean American listeners?
I think one of the things I thought about as you asked that question was one of the things that my mom, I actually talked with my mom last night before I interviewed. I was like, I'm trying to prepare my heart. I'm trying to get ready. I tried practicing Korean, but I was just like, okay, just for the sake of radio clarity and for like, especially for the legal case, it'd be better if I just spoke English. But
Mom said no.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Okay, better not.
Okay. Mom said do it in English.
Yeah, but to that point, the reason why she said something that's like that made me actually very sad. She told me that her generation and her friends and a lot of Korean like parents and immigrant parents, they expect this treatment. They're not mad about this treatment, even though they're getting made fun of, even though they get discriminated, even though like people mock the way they talk, they don't see them as equals. They expect that treatment. Yeah. And that's what really hurt me. But what she said is that what the people care about the most right now about hearing is the fact that they see me, right? I grew up in America. I graduated high school. I graduated college from Biola University, and I got the opportunity to be a police officer. But for them to see me as a Korean American who was born here, raised here, amongst side by these people, but to be treated differently, if not the same as what my parents had to go through, that broke my heart.
그 수십 년 전에 어머니가 겪었던 그 아픔을, 그 상황을 다시 겪어야 되는 그런 상황이
다시는 겪지 말아야죠.
네, 그렇죠. 그게 너무 지금 안타깝다는 얘기시고 정말 많은 공감이 되네요.
네, 그렇습니다.
우리가 정말 뭔가 좀 더 노력해야 되지 않나 하는 생각도 좀 들고 그렇습니다.
저희가 벌써 시간이 다 됐습니다. 네, 오늘 글렌도라 경찰국 소속 한인 경관 앤드류 황 경관과 저희가 말씀을 나눠봤는데 뭔가 좀 가슴이 찡해지는 그런
We're out of time, Andrew, but you gotta win this, man. You gotta get this. You do for all of us. For all of us, man.
We appreciate your time and thoughts. Thank you so much, Andrew and Nicole. Thank you.
Thank you.